Imagine standing on a quiet city street when suddenly a dark, unstoppable wall rises above you. On January 15th, 1919, Boston faced a disaster so strange, many didn't believe it at first. A flood not of water, but of boiling hot molasses, killing 21 people in just minutes. Boston's North End in the early 1900s was a dense, loud neighborhood, packed with working families, Italian immigrants, dock workers, and factory laborers. And right in their midst stood something massive, a gigantic steel tank 50 feet high and 90 feet across. Inside, 2.3 million gallons of molasses, warm and under immense pressure. Locals joked about the tank. Kids would collect the sweet syrup that constantly leaked from its sides. Some neighbors even swore they could hear the steel groan at night. But the company in charge, Purity Distilling, ignored every single warning. They had bigger problems on their mind. Prohibition was about to start, and they were in a desperate rush to produce as much alcohol as possible using that molasses. And that rush would cost lives. The tank was poorly designed from the very beginning. It was built by a man with no engineering background, using cheap steel that was far too thin for the pressure it had to contain. When workers reported loud rumbling noises, the company didn't repair the tank. They just painted it brown so the leaks would blend in. Residents said the tank moaned whenever it was filled. Others claimed it shook like a living creature trying to escape. These weren't just random noises. They were the first signs of structural failure warnings of what was to come. January 15th began like any other winter day, cold, quiet, and still. Inside the tank, however, the molasses had warmed slightly, increasing the pressure against the already weak steel walls. At exactly 12:40 p.m., the tank gave out. Witnesses heard a rapid series of cracks, like machine gun fire, followed by a huge explosion that shook the entire neighborhood. The steel ripped apart, sending massive shards flying like shrapnel. And then it came. A monstrous wave of molasses, 25 feet high, surging through the streets at 35 miles per hour. It hit like liquid concrete. Unlike water, molasses is brutally heavy and thick. When the wave struck, it crushed buildings instantly. Horses were swallowed whole. A city truck was thrown into the air. People caught in the flood described the same terrifying experience. A sudden impact, then complete immobility. Survivors said it felt like drowning, but slowly. Every breath filled with the cloying smell of sugar, alcohol, and mud. Every attempt to move was like pushing through setting cement. Some victims were trapped for hours. Even then, a sweet, sickly smell of molasses lingered over Boston for decades. In the end, 21 people were dead. More than 150 were injured. Buildings were destroyed, and families were shattered. The city demanded answers. When investigators dug into the disaster, what they found was shocking. The tank was a ticking time bomb. The steel was too thin. The design was never reviewed by an engineer. It was filled beyond safe capacity, and leaks were hidden, not repaired. Company executives had ignored every single complaint. This time, Boston refused to accept corporate excuses. The United States Industrial Alcohol Company was taken to court in one of the longest civil cases in American history. After 3 years of hearings, the company was found responsible. They paid massive settlements, and their catastrophic failure directly led to new engineering standards, safety inspections, and building codes that protect millions of us today. The Great Molasses Flood sounds bizarre, almost like a dark joke from history. But for the people of Boston's North End, it was a nightmare they could never forget. And it teaches us something important. Disasters don't always come from storms or earthquakes. Sometimes they come from the everyday things we stop paying attention to. So it makes you wonder, what dangers might we be ignoring today? simply because they don't look dangerous at all. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, hit that subscribe button for more untold tales from history.